Brittany. Hey, Bud.
Brandon's not coming, but let me do roll call. So
Okay.
we have to call the meeting to order.
I will call this meeting to order.
Okay. President Bud.
Here.
Member Baker.
Here.
Member Norman.
Here.
Member Butler. Brittany, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
I'm here.
And Member Krasinski.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so the first meeting order, hopefully we'll make this a pretty quick meeting. So we'll go over if anybody has any questions about the minutes or the financial statements, we'll take a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Keith. Is there a second by Brittany? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Still got to do. I got to do roll call.
Sorry, roll
Yep.
call. Sorry.
All right. Member Baker.
Yes.
Member Norman. Bud, you're muted.
Yes.
Member Butler.
Yes.
Member Krasinski.
Yes.
And President Bud.
Yes. Okay, motion carried. So we'll go right into our regular agenda. Is there any old business somebody would like to discuss? Hearing none, we'll go right into the new business. And the first order of business is the Village of Union City resignation. The village submitted their resignation just after our last meeting, I believe. So I think everybody's received a copy of that letter. So I don't think there's any motions we need to take at this time. However, we may want to look into, and this will be something that I'll have to ask Megan, because our bylaws state that there has to be a member of that community. So I don't know if we want to look into changing our bylaws. Nikki, can you remind me to ask Megan whether that should happen or not?
Yep. You don't want to take a motion to accept it and place that on file?
I think we probably should. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I'll take a motion to accept it and place it on file.
So moved.
Moved by Nick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Oh, well, I had,
Got Baker?
yep, we'll give it to Keith Baker. So with that, we'll take a roll call.
Member Norman?
Yes.
Member Butler?
Yes.
Member Krasinski?
Yes.
Member Baker?
Yes.
And President Bud.
Yes. Motion accepted and or was approved. So now we'll turn it over to the one, the only Miss Lisa Miller. Rebates and recommendations.
Open mic. Gotta love that. So we, next on this agenda are the amount of rebates from the rebate program that have been submitted and vetted both by Audrey and myself to present to the board for approval or not approval. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Can give all the credit for this fabulous layout to Miss Audrey. And we worked through what we thought you would want to see and in the order you would want to see it. So as for Quincy, at the top of the list, you can see Woodbridge Enterprises, Family Dental Home, Southern Michigan Gymnastics, and Patty's Apparel and Bridal Shop. They have all made submissions. Audrey has a stack of all of the receipts that she can include if necessary. She does have those on file. So the beginning balance for Quincy was at $2,500. Awarded, if you approve this, would be $2,000 this round, leaving them, unless we change things, at $500. I think what I'd like to do is just go through each community and start and see if there's any questions with each one before I move on. Are there any questions about the Quincy rebates filed?
I don't have.
Okay, anybody else?
None from me.
All right, we'll go down to Bronson. Bronson, you have Baroni Hardware that is applied along with the Hathaway Agency. And they started out also with $2,500, and then there's $1,000 awarded, and they will have $1,500 left if anyone else applies. Are there any questions about these applications and the rebate? If there's none, then we'll go down to Coldwater. We have Bobelia, Coldwater Family Dentistry, the Tibbetts Opera House, Studio La Femme, the Baptist Church, and Branch County Pride organization. So $1,000 on all of the top three, and then you have 408 to La Femme, 702 to the Baptist Church, and then $52 back to the Branch Pride group. And then you can see there what is eligible. A lot of people put in items that were not eligible, and so those were backed back out. But this is the amount currently at $4,162 out of starting with $45,000, and that would leave the city of Coldwater with about $40,000 to rebate.
Lisa, how come on the Branch Pride, it doesn't say anything about the business supported?
I don't know.
Is that because it was all out of state?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Nick, I didn't understand your question. Yes, so what they bought, they did not buy locally.
Got it. Okay.
So we only gave them a 50% rebate.
So we gave them 50% of their 104.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
One thing I was wondering, was there anybody who, it looks like everybody who applied got something, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes, they did. There were several, as I mentioned, that they had ineligible items that we went through and basically said no, because they weren't eligible. And so this was able to narrow it down and again, put it in this form that was pretty readable.
Obviously, this is kind of what I was kind of making sure that we didn't get overwhelmed with the first round request. So there is available money. So if Quincy or Brunson had higher amounts, you know, we would have no trouble spending, but everybody who asked for it got something.
So far, what I'd like to do is I would like to go back out and publicize this again after the meeting, sometime in the next week or so, get on the radio and just remind people of it.
Mhm.
And see if we can generate some additional requests. We are at about, I think I'd mentioned about $7,000, same as what the DDA did just for downtown Coldwater. So there are, I'm sure, other properties out there, excuse me, businesses out there that might want to apply. One thing I did want to note, and I have the list, we had many businesses in Branch County that received the latest incentive package from Restart Michigan. So that may be, for instance, like Longstreet Furniture received funding through Southwest Michigan First and the state of Michigan for Restart Michigan. That may be why they haven't applied for PPE reimbursement. So there may be some of that going on.
Okay. And they can't be double and triple dipping on that, right?
Right, no, it can't. And so it's different, but those, like that money might be for specific to people, hiring people, payroll, where something like this is strictly PPE or PPP, PPE.
Well,
And the other is PPP.
Now that we got a better feel or handle how many people might apply, we can always go back and update these if we want to set 75 go to 100 if we so wanted to. I'm not saying that, but
Going up, you mean as far as the outside other communities?
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, like, so Fabilia, he only got 75%. He used it in, you know, especially a local business. Maybe we could help that a little better. Instead of just capping his at 1,000, we could have went to $2,000 on the 75%. So, just a thought.
Yeah.
I think I'd wait and see how your next round of advertising goes. That was always the fear. You never know how many people were going to apply.
Right.
I'm good with this. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? Or if not, I think the action would be to accept an approval to pay the rebates as accepted. So, questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion on the floor.
So
So
moved.
moved.
All right,
Support.
motion- Okay, motion by Baker, supported by Kraminski. On roll call vote, please.
Member Norman,
Yes.
Member Butler,
Yes.
Member Krasinski,
Yes.
Member Baker,
Yes.
President Bud.
Yes. Okay, that brings us up to, again, Lisa Miller on the economic development update.
Okay, well, as you can see from this list, we've been extremely busy. The downtown economic development efforts, I think, pretty much speak for themselves. We still are on track to have 2 bandits open in March downtown. Hops on Monroe has been very successful. They're continuing that and are sure that once COVID is over, that's going to be something that's going to continue to expand down the road because it's just been very, very well received. They're going to be next weekend, and I believe they're going to have another event in October. Given the list of the downtown economic development efforts for the city of Coldwater, does anybody have any questions about that list that they would like additional explanation on?
I just walked by the building. That building's in rougher shape.
Yes.
Hope that can turn around. It's a beautiful building.
It is. Yes, I was quite interesting. Of course, I've 36 years. I've been in most of the buildings in downtown Coldwater and second and third floors, and I was shocked at how much the building had gone down in the last several years. I know that the city is going to be working to put a new roof on it and to stabilize the building so that we can move forward on what types of development might be available. So I'm really, really happy that we have it in our hands because
Almost.
couldn't handle much longer. Keith, have you got anything funny to say?
I didn't hear it.
I was just saying we haven't quite closed on it yet, but yes.
Oh.
All right. Any other questions on downtown efforts? All right. I'll go down to commercial efforts. I am working with a developer on a possible project that's it's kind of in its infancy stages that would look at maybe doing some renovation of some buildings out in our one of our commercial corridors. I'll keep you updated on that as if it gets any legs to move forward. On the COVID-19 recovery efforts, as we mentioned here on the BCEGA rebates, no longer pending but passed. And then also $7,000 of rebates through the Downtown Development Authority for COVID-related items, exactly like what we did for the Growth Alliance. I have had several business consultations where people have called me looking for help on the PPE loans, referring them to our local banks, any other type of availability that has been out there, and trying to push through the chamber and through our own documentation, getting the information out about the restart grants and anything that has come through on those COVID-19 recovery efforts. As well as we continue to try to get that information out, there's still those that are looking for help. At the end of this report, I will give you a list of what businesses have received the latest grant that I mentioned earlier. Under housing efforts, we continue, as we know, that's a big impediment to continuing bringing families and people into this, the county, looking at housing efforts. 600 West Chicago, which is the land out the old Federal Mogul building. We've been working with Bill Laditka on being able to at least maybe do a visual of what types of units and how many units could go on that property if they had a developer that was interested. We're still working on Project Flats, which is a building in downtown that would be a potential 7-unit. That's still moving forward, but not a done deal. And then efforts with Clemens as they continue to grow and look at changes that they're making. They need to have additional housing in order to continue their efforts. So a lot of moving parts and pieces. Of course, right now, the cost of construction is at all-time high. And but we have developers and people that are working with us to try and bring additional things to the county. Any question on those 3 items before I move on?
Is Bill a digital, what is he, is he a planner?
Yeah, so he works for a company called Intersect, and we've worked with him on project flats in regard to getting numbers around for building renovation. And so that's what he'll do that. They're not going to give us what the cost would be, but more of a design of how you can have multi-use out there. So under manufacturing efforts, again, 6 West, which could possibly have a manufacturing component to it. That's yet to be determined. We did work just pre-COVID on a potential couple of companies that were looking at the Aunt Millie's building, and those have gone quiet because of COVID. Same thing on the Donner property and Project Clark. Those are still in the process of a potential look at anything that might be able to be done in that area, but that's gone quiet also because of COVID. Project Skeleton has gone quiet, and we are continuing to look at RFQs. Right now, we don't have anything that's really focused on what our area. A lot of them will come out and they might want the Detroit area, or they might want specific county. Right now, anything that we have out, we've not heard back from yet. Did do some work on the solar group that was looking to come in. You know, if they come in, it highly affects the Anderson property, which is potential for additional manufacturing adjacent to our industrial park. And that, I think, is up, correct me, Jeff, if I'm wrong, but I think that's up to Ovid Township right now on whether or not that's going to move forward on a package to do solar.
Ovid or Algansett?
Pardon?
Ovid or Algansett Township, do you say?
I thought Ovid, but I think that's.
Is it Ovid, Keith?
Yeah, Ovid and Coldwater.
Yeah. My apology.
Okay. GCI is called State of Michigan, and I had Audrey sit in on that call as I was out of town. But they're looking to do some expansion with diversifying who they make their parts for. So that's a nice plus for our community. Again, helping Clemens constantly with recruitment and working with them to be able to get information around if they choose to continue their growth. Real Alloy, I wanted to bring that up. There is a I guess it's with the DEQ. They are requesting to increase the amount of emissions that are going into the air. I believe there is a public comments. I believe it's today. I think it goes through till the end of the month, maybe the 28th. But just did want to bring that up for conversation about how the Growth Alliance feels about that, and whether or not we want to be making any statement and or the municipality as far as having them increase their emissions. They have are breaking what they currently have now quite often, have been fined pretty stiffly for breaking what their permit allows. And that's what we have from that standpoint. They are back up and running. One plant never shut down. I would say that's the south plant, I think it is. I might be wrong on that, but one of the plants shut down, had laid off their workers, and they're bringing them back. And then Speed Rack had their groundbreaking, socially distanced groundbreaking, and they appear to be moving forward also. Any questions on this category?
Lisa, this is Bud.
Yes.
With Clemens, what are you seeing with recruitment? Is it getting people through the front door? Is it retaining people? Is it turnover? And do you feel like Clemens is seeing what they expected to see in this area?
I think they are expected, they did get what they needed and expected for their first round, their first 800 people. But as they try and hire additional people because of volume that they have, they, like everybody else, were having difficulty just because of, at that time, 3.5% unemployment. So I think they're looking at all different kinds of options. And I honestly can't tell you right now if, because the unemployment rate is higher, whether or not that's been better for them or easier for them. I know that they have had turnover, but I don't believe it's been any higher than what they had out in Pennsylvania. So again, we continue to work with them, and I know housing is an issue as far as some of their employees don't have transportation. There's transportation issues. They are working with bringing around their own transportation or trying to partner with different entities about transportation. So that becomes an issue also. They would like, to have housing where they could have their team members be able to walk to like grocery stores and different things. So still really just growing and working out all the kinks that go with that.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, I read somewhere the other day that I think Paragon and another company are raising their starting wage to like 20 and 25 bucks an hour.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to affect the Clemens and some of the other businesses within our area that aren't, they're just not going to pay that?
Well, yes, it's a great question. Paragon has a different skill set of what they look at for their manufacturing. They have a lot of robotics, and so it's a different group, a different pay scale, if you will, based on what they have their team members have to do. And so I think, like anything else, the similar types of candidates that would be viable for them and that company, they're going to be able to attract those people over another company. But when it comes to different specific types, let's say like what Clemens is doing, you still have, it's a different pay wage and a different skill set. So like anything else though, I think it's continuing to have to go up. This was happening again before we recruited Clemens. It had started as the unemployment rate was going down about 9 months before we recruited them, where people were having to increase their salaries because people were going to, for example, work in Battle Creek at Denso because they were paying more. Gas prices were down, so they could drive, and it made it worth it. So that is specific, though. Paragon is a different animal than a lot of the other companies.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right, we'll go down to partnerships. Can't say enough about Bernard Robinson and Northern Initiatives. They're the entity that runs our county revolving loan fund. They're constantly looking for deals. If anybody has a company, doesn't matter what size, that needs some creative financing, please let us know and we will direct them to Bernard. We have to have a deal in the works every 2 years or we will lose our funding. And when I say lose it, they'll open it up to everybody else around us, where right now it's our money and we have a direct pipeline to it. So kind of better to explain it, there's about right around $300,000 in that funding source that is not being utilized currently, that is available. And the Aqua Pit, for instance, whenever they got their funding through Northern Initiatives, through our revolving loan fund, had we not approved that project, all of our $600,000 would have gone to anywhere in the state of Michigan. So that money's there, it's still available, and it's much easier to utilize than it's ever been, in my opinion, since 2009 of working on it with the state of Michigan. So anything out there, let us know and we'll get them hooked up with Bernard. The Michigan Department of Ag Rural Development, we've been working with them with Clemens and a couple other potential growth opportunities. Jody Gruner is back on our region, which we're thrilled by, and they're just a great resource. And the same thing with the MEDC, with the CAT team, which helps with any types of investment in downtown. And then, of course, Brenda Stewart and the manufacturing side. Lee Adams, we've been working with him on different potential projects. He's running the EDA out of the Kalamazoo district, and he's always a really great resource. Michigan works on training for all companies, and particularly Clemens and any type of job fairs. They're always really involved, not only locally, but also regionally out of Battle Creek and Kalamazoo. They've done a really nice job. I did partner, sat in on a couple meetings on the 911 issue that's been being worked on here at the county. AMP was down and kind of did a presentation, I guess it was via Zoom, on their website, updating American Municipal Power on what types of things they can do to help advertise any available land and or available projects that we have here in Branch County. Attended a meeting with the LDFA, have been working with MDOT both in downtown potential projects and with any expansion projects. And Amy from MDOT has really been very helpful for our entire team. Clemens had called their HR director. They were looking for some community engagement opportunities. I did talk with them about the domestic violence shelter. They were looking for hands-on things there, and also having them work with Schools of Hope on their reading program. So that was pretty neat to get that phone call from them. We talked about a lot of different opportunities and organizations, and this is what they felt worked with their, I guess, mindset and their forward thinking on specific types of projects that they're interested in. As always, Southwest Michigan First, great resource. We did have a site consultant Zoom meeting. It actually was a pretty neat event. They sent a box of items to each one of the partners' homes, and they had a mixologist as part of, at the end of the Zoom meeting with the site consultants, they had a like a 5 o'clock cocktail where the person taught you how to make this specific type of cocktail. That was really fun. And yes, the cocktails were after the meeting, so we were actually able to talk to these site consultants about what they're looking for, what is keeping people again from looking at Michigan, and all the things that you don't want to hear about why site consultants are still hesitant to come to Michigan, but that we need to hear so that we can talk at the state level and talk within our own partners about what kinds of changes we need to make so that we have people look at us and not go somewhere else. One of the things that they talked about, which I don't find it personally, and in fact, they said that if they have a project that they go to the local partners, AKA Audrey and I, they have really good response in working with the MEDC. If they go to the MEDC directly on a project, there seems to be some disconnect in regard to responsiveness and getting them what they need. MEDC was not on this Zoom call. This was just for the partners in the region from the site selectors. And so that was good to know, and just really kind of reaffirms how important the local partnerships are in order to get the information to these site consultants, even if it's via the MEDC or directly to them, to be able to move projects forward. So all in all, a very, very useful Zoom call for that. Are there any questions on this category?
So other than the MEDC, what other things that they identify as impediments?
You know, they really focused mostly on the MEDC because everywhere else, you know, the number of people that are available to work are always an issue. You know, so many companies are looking to go to the southern states because of weather. Those are things we can't control. Also, having communities that people want to move to, walkable communities, amenities in the downtowns, things to be able to bring people back up into Michigan, really emphasizing communities to look at that as in a way to help recruit more people in order then to have more bodies to be able to show companies that we do have what it takes to fill those positions. Any other questions for me? Let me,
Hey, Lisa, I do have one quick one. You mentioned Aqua Bits. Let me know how that's doing.
you know, I have to say I have not been out there. I know that they were opened over Labor Day weekend. So I can do some checking and report back if you'd like. I can call Bernard directly. I haven't heard anything bad. So far so good, I think.
Thank you.
I spoke.
Sorry, Keith, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I spoke to Seth and one of the owners, and at least anecdotally, he told me it's going well. Now, they got a late start because of COVID. They didn't open until about a month after they had hoped to open, and but they've had a beautiful summer in which to operate. It was just somewhat limited by restrictions of COVID. So, by at least anecdotally, or at least what he's telling me to my face, was that it had gone well, and I guess they could always hope that it went better. But on their Facebook post, they expressed that they would see everybody next year. So
it's tough summer for everybody with although COVID.
I do have a question for you, Lisa.
Yes, Brittany.
With the Bernard Robinson, what are your restrictions for the incentive, like for their funding? Is there any restrictions, like say I have a pot grower that wants to come in, but he doesn't have the full funding because medical requires you have $150,000 in assets. Can they go to them as well, or no, for a new facility for manufacturing?
So it has to meet whatever the national objective is. So for instance, if it's blight reduction, right, or increased jobs, you know, if they're going to bring in an increased number of jobs. And so each deal is different. So I think the big piece is that they can't, I think they can't have gone bankrupt. And they have like 2 or 3 real specifics where they just really can't look at it at all. They can't refinance something if the objectives have already been met, whatever the national objectives are. So it really comes down to each deal and how many parts and pieces they have and what the funding gap might be for them.
Gotcha. I just wasn't sure if it was like, because it's federally legal versus statewide where, you know, it's legal. I wasn't sure how that worked.
I can ask him that question, Brittany, and get right back to you on it. In regard to marijuana growers.
Thank you.
I would guess there would be some limitations on that, but I'll find out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, and then lastly, I just have this list that was sent out by Southwest Michigan First on who received the New Start grants just from Branch County. There were 1,400 businesses that were in our region that were given funding, and that's the Branch County Domestic Violence, Buckland Dentistry, Bronson Plating, Bronson Strike Zone, Coldwater Chiropractic and Wellness Center, Coldwater Grocery, Coldwater Family Dentistry, the Chamber of Commerce, Douglas Corporation, El Taco Loco, Fortitude Strength and Conditioning, The Goodie Shop, G&W Display, Jeannie's, Lila's Bridal, Keith's Jewelry, Tibbetts Opera House, Pure Envy, The Lamplighter, Mind, Body, and Soul Day Spa, Midway Lanes, Narrows Resort, Putnam Machine, Rampant, Rachel's Salon, Smitty's Pizza, the Longstreet Group, Lake Drive Marine, and Southern Michigan Gymnastics. Any other questions on that or on anything else regarding our report?
I don't hear any, so with that, thank you, Lisa. We don't normally put a place on file, do we, Nikki? Vote on? No? Okay. So that's our economic update. Thank you very much, Lisa. Community updates. Brittany, how about we start with you?
So we're just kind of plugging along right now. There is some change, which Jeff, I sent an email. Jason Laney here at the office, who was our utility manager, left. He went to Marshall, so we can all blame Zuzka for that. Not that I'm bitter or anything, it's fine. But community-wide, we're doing okay. Actually, I talked to Lisa this morning. There's a possible new industrial coming in. We're kind of keeping that quiet for right now. We do have a new coffee shop going in. That's in the old Misprint facility because Misprint actually moved to a different building. And then our second dispensary is in full swing construction. So hopefully they're hoping to be open rather shortly. First one's doing amazing. I will say they are busy all the time. Anytime I drive by there between 10 and 9 p.m., they're pretty good. Our Markets 1858, which was our pop-up retail shop, we have one building that's completed. I've informed Great Lakes Structures to hold off on the remaining 6 just until we can figure out funding with this year because of COVID and everything. We don't want to overspend. So right now our estimate, if I have my guys do all the work at the courtyard, is just under $100,000. So we'll see what we can swing this year. There's a new possible, that's why I asked Lisa about the Northern Initiative for the, we have a grower, he's a small guy, he's got a couple employees, he would like to start his own grow up. He's a veteran, so trying to help him along. Other than that, everything's kind of just quiet and no events this year. Pints hasn't officially canceled. However, it's highly unlikely that we'll have the event. We're trying to figure out a way to do something though for a fundraiser for our trail, which, speaking of the trail, we've got that all gravel based down for the linear path, with the exception of a small, I think it's 600 feet of Park Street because we have to put in storm sewer underneath the path. So speed racks, construction is going awesome. It's huge. When you drive by, you can't see anything. So that's kind of odd after years of driving by and being able to see a forest or the woods. You can't see anything. You just see a giant wall. And our Church Street construction will start this week. Actually, they're taking down the trees and doing pre-construction stuff. So yeah, we're kind of slowly, quietly moving things along here.
Very good. Any questions for Brittany? If not, Bud, how about you go next?
Okay. So we continue to be on time, on schedule with our jail project. And that on schedule is getting it under roof by this September, this month, at the end of this month. And then for the project to be complete by September, the end of September of 2021. So again, we are still on schedule. We've had our challenges, the weather. We inadvertently hit a water line. We've had a couple of COVID issues that were resolved. We had a mix of 5 trucks that came in with concrete last week, and they had the wrong mix. We discovered that quickly, not before they poured some of it, but we turned those trucks around and replaced them. But we're happy with our progress, and we're happy with the quality of the work that's being done, and we're happy with the construction manager and his management of the subcontractors. This Wednesday, we're going to have a pre-bid meeting, and that'll be here at the courthouse, followed by going out on site. We're doing the teen share facility, and Brian is coming to that meeting on Wednesday. And we're looking at putting in 2 septic tanks and a drain field, and then hooking up the CVPU with the water line. That's out, so that pre-bid meeting is mandatory. If you know of anyone that does that type of work and they didn't receive the RFP, if you can just send them over to the pre-bid meeting at 11 o'clock this coming Wednesday. That's all I have to report.
Where's that pre-bid meeting?
It's going to be here at the courthouse at 11 o'clock. And then following that, we'll go out to the teen share facility. And that's located just south, adjacent to the prison and across from the MSP station on 145 East State Street.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Bud? If not, Nick, looks like Nick might have, oh yeah, Nick's still here. Nick, you got anything?
Sure. We continue to be behind in every aspect of our business right now. Contractors, they just are struggling with employees. Our business has grown so much that a lot of our employees do O&M work instead of new construction. So our supervisors are having a hard time balancing that and staying on top of the game. But we have enough work to carry us into probably 2023. We've got a couple large projects that are going on north of Teconcha at Quality Campground. We're finishing up at Station 1 on Union City Road. That should be finished up probably end of this week, first part of next week, I think. And we'll probably run, typically we try to get the contractors out of here November, December timeframe. And I think we have enough work. As long as the weather holds out, they'll probably continue to work throughout the winter months just to keep things going.
Great. Okay, Keith, you want to go next?
Just a couple quick things for the others. We do have 2 road and utility projects underway. Smith Street, which is the one currently under construction, and then they're going to transition over towards the beginning of October to North Monroe, right outside City Hall. So that'll be blocked off here in a couple of weeks. Just a factoid, I was told last week that Clemens is up to 1,050 employees, and Voltec and Asama, and I think Sport Truck also still is looking. I believe panel processing, is my understanding, is essentially closed down, or they're reducing their footprint here locally. And Polygreen Foam is transitioning out. They're cleaning up their property, and that's all that they really have left there is the transition of their waste foam from that facility. They're hoping to have that done by the end of the year. And I myself am particularly involved in a railroad reconstruction project. We're looking at how to finance $1 to $1.5 million railroad restoration project on our St. Joe Branch County Railroad Users Association line. So something that's taken up some time on my end. But that currently serves about six industries in our communities between Quincy and Coldwater. So SunGrow, Star of the West, Voltec, Darlene, Cirrus, which is the farm co-op, and I'm leaving what it was panel processing, but they've ceased shipments, I believe. So,
Keith, it sounds like you got railroaded.
yeah.
Keith, I had a question. From the last time that we were in at panel processing and had a site visit, I know they still have their building across the street that's for sale. But has that really changed from what they were during that site visit? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, their plant manager is no longer there. I mean, it's transitioned to somebody else, and it's my understanding that their carloads there was a large press board manufacturer that opened up in Grayling that I know some of us are familiar with, and I think that has something to do with the competition with panel processing in their 3 facilities.
Mm-hmm.
While they were cost effective down here, their plant here had to compete against a plant in Holland and a plant further north, maybe Gaylord or somewhere up north. So I think they're experiencing some competition there. But
Well, I knew that they were looking to go in a different direction. Do you happen to know if that main building then is vacant?
I don't, but I have the person that we need to get a kind of follow up with.
I'll reach out to Missy Lafferty also from Michigan Works, because if that building's going to be on the market along with the one across the street, that we're going to want to help them advertise that on our website.
I mean, I'm all my information is secondhand, so kind of getting fed to me. So we really should at least attempt to do a site visit or follow
Yeah,
up.
we were in right before COVID, and the guys that were left there were cautiously optimistic, as you remember. But I know that they were potentially changing. So
this is since then.
mm-hmm. All right, we'll reach out.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get somebody in there. How many employees? It used to be a pretty big employer, but now I know they've been dwindling down.
They were down. Yeah, they were way down. It was a skeletal crew, and then they were planning on doing some additions, and it doesn't sound like that happened.
Okay. Hey, Brittany, I did get your message, and I'll call you after this meeting. So in terms of the BPU, we are working on one big lift station. Keith mentioned the road work. The other thing we're doing is we will have a truly third independent, redundant transmission line into Coldwater starting, should be October 15th. So hopefully that work will be done. So that's another big thing. We are wrapping up our electrical substation on Butters, and that will be done at that time. So hopefully that all comes together. So that's really it for us. And our fiber project is going really well. So that's been good news. They're anticipating to be done much earlier than the original 3-year estimate. So now that's, I don't want to put a date, in a public meeting, but hopefully it will be under 2 years anyway. So we've cut quite a bit of time and so far still under budget. So it's going to be a real positive in terms of economic development anyway, to have everybody on a direct fiber to the home, and we won't have any internet issues. Knock on wood anyway, hopefully. So any other questions?
Hey, Jeff, I had a question for Nick. Is your additional work, is that organic growth, or is there any geographic expansion associated with that?
No, there's not a lot of geographic expansion going on, not around this area. In other parts of the company there are, but not around here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
You're still on propane, huh, bud?
What's that?
Still on propane?
Yeah. Well, I'm on gas now.
Oh, okay.
I gave up propane. That was too much work. I had to supervise them coming and filling and coordinating, scheduling. You don't have to do that with gas.
That's right. I love it. All right. Is there any other new business? Or, excuse me, I said public comment. I don't see any public comment on the phone. Is there anything on on there, Pat?
No, there's nobody on the call that would make a public comment. You see everybody who's there, and then there's nothing in the chat. So
Okay. Date of next meeting, Nikki?
You tell me. When do you guys want it?
Is everybody good with these quarterly updates or every 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, it works here.
Works fine for me.
Maybe we'll schedule something for December. We'll send out another doodle. December can sometimes be busy, but if we keep it to less than an hour, we should be able to squeeze one in somewhere.
That sounds good.
Okay, we'll be in touch at the next meeting. And with that, I do believe we are adjourned. So everybody have a great day. And Brittany, I'll give you a shout. See you, Lisa.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.